Marriage is like a Wi-Fi signal, strong when you're close, but step into the garage and you're on your own. I'm Tom Lane, 39 years old, and I've been married to Rachel for 15 years. Used to think we had a strong connection. Turns out I was just standing too close to the router. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. It started with little things. Rachel's phone buzzing at dinner, her eyes lighting up like Christmas morning when she checked it. Just work stuff, she'd say. But work stuff doesn't usually make you smile like you just won the lottery while eating my famous burnt meatloaf. I'm an IT field technician for Morrison Tech Solutions. I fix computers, install networks, and troubleshoot people's digital disasters for a living. You'd think that would make me suspicious of technology, but honestly, machines are more reliable than people. When a computer lies to you, at least it crashes and gives you an error message. Rachel works in HR at Pinnacle Insurance. She's always been the social one, the one who remembers birthdays and organizes neighborhood barbecues. Me? I'm the guy who shows up, eats too much potato salad, and makes jokes that land about 50% of the time. Our daughter Lily is 12, smart as a whip, and has been giving me suspicious looks lately. Kids pick up on things adults pretend not to notice. She's been spending more time in her room, headphones on, avoiding family dinners. Can't blame her. The tension in our house could power a small city. Dad, why does Mom always leave the room when you come in? She asked me last Tuesday while I was fixing her laptop. The question hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Maybe she's just busy, kiddo, I said, but we both knew that wasn't it. The real wake-up call came 3 weeks ago. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Rachel's phone buzzed on the counter. She was upstairs getting ready for another mandatory office happy hour. The screen lit up with a text from Dave Bronson. Can't wait to see you tonight. Last time was incredible. Dave Bronson, my old friend from college. The guy who never met a free drink he didn't like or a cheap thrill he could resist. Real estate agent, drives a BMW he can barely afford, and has the kind of smile that makes you want to count your fingers after shaking his hand. I stared at that text for a full minute, my coffee getting cold. Last time was incredible. What last time? The office happy hour from 2 weeks ago. The charity fundraiser where I stayed home with Lily because she had the flu. When Rachel came downstairs, she was wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Black, fitted, the kind that costs more than my monthly car payment. New dress? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Oh, this old thing? She laughed, but her laugh sounded like broken glass. I've had it forever. Forever apparently meant she bought it yesterday, because I found the receipt in her purse later. $250 at Nordstrom, for a mandatory work event. That night, she came home at 2:30 a.m., reeking of cologne that definitely wasn't mine. When I asked how the happy hour went, she said it was boring, and that she'd stayed late to help clean up. Funny thing about Dave Bronson, he's never cleaned up anything in his life unless there was money in it for him. I started paying attention after that, really paying attention. Rachel's work emergencies that required weekend meetings, her sudden interest in yoga classes that seemed to happen at the same time, Dave posted gym selfies on Facebook, the way she'd turn her phone face down whenever I walked into a room. My buddy Vince from work noticed I was distracted. We were installing a new server at Henderson Manufacturing when he finally called me out. You look like someone stole your lunch money and slept with your wife, he said, wrestling with a particularly stubborn Ethernet cable. Just the wife part, I muttered. Vince stopped what he was doing. Seriously? I think so. Dave Bronson. That slimy real estate prick? Jesus, Tom, you sure? Sure enough to start documenting things. And that's what I did. Started keeping a log. Rachel's late nights, her mysterious phone calls, the way she'd suddenly developed an interest in professional development seminars that happened to coincide with Dave's business trips. The evidence piled up like leaves in autumn. Text messages I glimpsed when she left her phone unlocked. Receipts for restaurants I'd never been to. A hotel key card that fell out of her jacket pocket. The Marriott downtown. The same weekend she was supposedly at a team-building retreat in Springfield. But the real kicker came last Friday night. Rachel was in the shower and her phone was charging on the nightstand. It buzzed with a text from Dave. Tonight was wild. Let's do it again soon. I screenshot that message faster than you could say irreconcilable differences. When she got out of the shower, I was sitting on the bed with her phone in my hand. Want to explain this? I asked, showing her the screen. For a split second, her face went white. Then the mask slipped back into place, and she laughed. Oh my God, Tom. That's about the Henderson property deal. Dave was stressed about the closing, and I helped him work through the paperwork. It was wild how complicated everything was. At 11:30 at night? He's a night owl, you know that. I knew a lot of things about Dave Bronson. I knew he'd cheated on his SATs in college. I knew he'd borrowed $200 from me in 2018 and never paid it back. I knew he had a habit of taking things that didn't belong to him. I just never thought my wife would be one of them. "Rachel," I said, keeping my voice steady, "we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," she snapped. "You're being paranoid and jealous, and frankly, it's not attractive." That's when I knew for sure. When someone starts attacking your character instead of addressing your concerns, they're usually guilty as hell. I didn't push it that night. Instead, I started planning. Because if there's one thing 15 years of marriage and 20 years in IT have taught me, it's that the best solutions require patience, preparation, and a deep understanding of your target's vulnerabilities. Dave Bronson was about to get a crash course in both. Rachel insisted we go to Dave's end-of-summer barbecue. "For appearances," she said, which should have been my first clue that appearances were all she cared about anymore. Dave's house sits in Willowbrook Estates, one of those cookie-cutter developments where every lawn looks like it was cut with a ruler and every mailbox costs more than most people's cars. The kind of neighborhood where people wave at each other but don't actually know each other's names. "This place has more fake smiles than a dentist's waiting room," I muttered to Lily as we walked up the driveway. She snorted. "Dad, that's terrible." "Terrible but accurate, kiddo." Rachel was already ahead of us, her hips swaying in a way that seemed calculated to catch attention. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready, trying on 3 different outfits before settling on white jeans and a blue top that showed just enough cleavage to be accidentally provocative. Dave met us at the front door with a beer in one hand and that $1,000,000 smile plastered across his face. He was wearing a polo shirt that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget and khakis that had never seen an honest day's work. "Tom, buddy, so glad you could make it," he said, clapping me on the shoulder like we were still best friends. "And beautiful Rachel, you look absolutely stunning." The way he said stunning made my skin crawl. There was too much emphasis on it, too much familiarity. Like he'd said it before, in private. "Thanks for having us," I replied, accepting the beer he offered. "Nice place you've got here." "Thanks, man. Business has been good. Really good." He winked at Rachel, who blushed like a teenager. The backyard was full of people I recognized but didn't really know. Neighbors, co-workers, the kind of social climbers who measured their worth by their zip code and the brand of wine they served at dinner parties. I found a spot near the pool and started people watching. It's amazing what you notice when you're not trying to be social. Like how Dave's wife Melanie kept checking her phone with tears in her eyes. Or how Rachel and Dave kept gravitating toward each other like magnets, even when they were talking to other people. "You look like you're having about as much fun as I am," said a voice behind me. I turned to see Kim Walsh, one of Rachel's friends from work. She was holding a wine glass that was definitely not her first of the evening. "Just observing the local wildlife," I said. Kim laughed, but it was sharp around the edges. "Wildlife is right. Some of these animals don't even bother hiding what they're hunting." She nodded toward the grill where Dave was showing Rachel how to flip burgers, his hands covering hers on the spatula. The gesture was innocent enough, but the way they were looking at each other wasn't. "How long has this been going on?" I asked quietly. Kim's eyes widened. "You know? I'm not blind." She took a long sip of wine. 3 months, maybe 4. Started at the Morrison account celebration. Too much champagne, hotel bar, you know how it goes? "Actually, I don't. Sorry, I thought you knew. I thought maybe you had some kind of arrangement." "The only arrangement I have is a marriage certificate." Kim looked uncomfortable. "Look, Tom, I like you. You're a good guy. But Rachel, she's been different lately. More confident, more, I don't know, alive, I guess." "Thanks for the character analysis. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just saying, maybe it's time to think about what you really want." What I really wanted was to grab Dave by his perfectly pressed collar and throw him into his own pool, but that would have been messy and ultimately unsatisfying. I had bigger plans. I excused myself and went inside to use the bathroom. Dave's house was all marble countertops and stainless steel appliances, the kind of place that looked like a magazine spread but felt cold as a morgue. I was coming out of the bathroom when I heard voices from Dave's home office. The door was slightly ajar, and I recognized Rachel's laugh immediately. "We have to be more careful," she was saying. "Tom's getting suspicious." "Maybe it's time to just tell him," Dave replied. "I'm tired of sneaking around." Are you crazy? I need to figure out the financial stuff first. The house, Lily's custody, my retirement account. I can't just blow up my life without a plan. What about my life? Melanie's already asking questions. She found the hotel receipt from last month. So handle it. You're good at handling things. There was a pause, then the sound of kissing. Wet, sloppy, enthusiastic kissing that made me want to vomit. I pulled out my phone and started recording. The audio was muffled, but clear enough to understand. Rachel moaning Dave's name, Dave calling her incredible, the sound of clothes rustling and furniture creaking. After about 30 seconds, I stopped recording and quietly backed away from the door. I'd heard enough, more than enough. I went back outside and found Lily sitting alone at a picnic table, picking at a plate of potato salad. Having fun? I asked, sitting down beside her. This is boring. Can we go home? Soon, kiddo. Just need to take care of something first. Dave appeared a few minutes later, his hair slightly mussed and his shirt wrinkled. He made a beeline for me, that fake smile replaced by something harder. Hey, Tom, can I talk to you for a minute? Privately? We walked to the far corner of the yard, away from the other guests. Look, I know what you're thinking, he started. Do you? Rachel and I are just friends. Good friends. We work together on a lot of deals, and sometimes that creates bonds. Bonds? Is that what we're calling it? His smile faltered. I don't know what you think you saw or heard, but I heard my wife moaning your name in your office about 10 minutes ago. Dave's face went red, then white, then red again. Okay, look. This isn't how I wanted this to come out. How did you want it to come out? Rachel's not happy, Tom. She hasn't been happy for a long time. We didn't mean for this to happen, but sometimes these things just develop. These things. We're in love. I almost laughed. You're in love with my wife, and she's in love with me. Congratulations. You want a medal or a cookie? Dave's expression hardened. This doesn't have to get ugly. Rachel's going to ask for a divorce anyway. You could make this easy on everyone, especially Lily. Or what? Or we make it hard. Rachel knows things about you, Tom. Your drinking problem, your anger issues, the way you've been neglecting your family. What drinking problem? The one we're going to document. The one that's going to make a judge think twice about giving you custody of your daughter. Now I did laugh. You're going to fabricate evidence against me? We're going to protect ourselves and the people we love. I stepped closer to him, close enough to smell the cologne Rachel had been wearing when she came home at 2:30 a.m. Dave, I said quietly, you just made a very big mistake. Is that a threat? It's a promise. See, you think you know me. You think I'm some boring IT guy who's going to roll over and let you steal his life. But here's the thing about IT guys. We're really good at finding information, and once we find it, we're even better at using it. Dave's face had gone pale again. What's that supposed to mean? It means you should have stuck to stealing beers from my fridge. I walked away, leaving him standing there looking like he'd swallowed a live fish. Rachel was waiting by the car with Lily, checking her phone and trying to look innocent. Ready to go? She asked sweetly. Oh, I'm ready for a lot of things, I said. The drive home was quiet. Rachel kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, probably trying to figure out what Dave had told me. Lily was asleep in the back seat, exhausted by the day's social performance. When we got home, Rachel went straight upstairs to take a bath. I went to my computer and started researching. Dave Bronson thought he was smart, but he'd made the classic mistake of underestimating his opponent. By midnight, I had a plan. By 1 a.m., I had the tools to execute it. By 2 a.m., when Rachel finally came to bed smelling like lavender body wash and guilt, I was ready to begin the most satisfying project of my career. Dave wanted to play games? Fine. But he was about to learn that in the game of revenge, the house always wins. And I was the house. Dave Bronson's house was a monument to his ego, complete with all the latest smart home technology. Ring doorbells, Nest thermostats, Alexa devices in every room, and a security system that probably cost more than most people's cars. He'd bragged about it at the barbecue, showing off his app-controlled everything like he was Tony Stark. What Dave didn't know was that smart homes are only as secure as their weakest password. And Dave, being Dave, used the same password for everything. Bronson 1985, his last name and birth year. I'd watched him type it into his phone at a restaurant 3 years ago when he was showing off his mobile banking app. Some people never change. It took me exactly 47 minutes to gain access to his entire system. Ring cameras, smart speakers, even his garage door opener. The man had essentially turned his house into a surveillance state, and he'd just handed me the keys to the kingdom. The first phase of my plan was simple: make Dave's life inconvenient. At 3 a.m. on Tuesday, I triggered his security alarm. The piercing wail woke up the entire neighborhood, and by the time the cops arrived, Dave was standing in his driveway in his underwear, trying to explain why his system had malfunctioned. Wednesday at 2 a.m., I did it again. This time, I also turned on every smart device in his house. Lights, TV, stereo, even his smart coffee maker. The cops were less sympathetic on the second visit. Thursday, I decided to get creative. Dave was hosting a broker's open house that afternoon, a chance for him to show off a $1 million listing to his real estate colleagues. I'd seen the invitation on his Facebook page, complete with photos of the property and promises of networking opportunities and premium refreshments. At exactly 2:30 p.m., right in the middle of his presentation, I activated every Alexa device in his house simultaneously. But instead of playing music or announcing the weather, they played something much more interesting. I'd used a voice synthesis program to recreate Dave and Rachel's voices from the audio I'd recorded at the barbecue. The technology isn't perfect, but it was good enough to fool a room full of people who weren't expecting it. "Oh, Dave, you're incredible," Rachel's synthesized voice moaned from the kitchen Alexa. "I can't get enough of you," Dave's voice replied from the living room device. "Tom has no idea. He's so clueless," Rachel's voice continued from the bedroom speaker. "We should tell him soon. I want you all to myself," Dave's voice answered from the office. The effect was immediate and devastating. 20 real estate agents, 3 potential clients, and Dave's supervising broker all heard his affair broadcast throughout the house in surround sound. I watched the whole thing unfold through his security cameras, which were still streaming to my laptop. Dave's face went through several shades of red before settling on a sickly green. He frantically tried to shut off the devices, but I'd locked him out of his own system. The voices continued their synthetic love affair for a full 3 minutes before I finally cut the feed. The room cleared faster than a fire drill. Dave's broker, a stern woman named Patricia Henley, stayed just long enough to inform him that he was suspended pending a full investigation into his professional conduct. But the best part was yet to come. Dave's wife Melanie had been upstairs during the presentation, keeping their kids quiet in the playroom. She came downstairs just as the last of the guests were fleeing, her face a mask of confusion and growing horror. "What was that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dave tried to explain, tried to claim it was some kind of prank or technical malfunction, but Melanie wasn't buying it. She'd heard her husband's voice, even if it was artificially generated, saying things that confirmed her worst fears. She left that afternoon with their 2 kids and a suitcase. I know because I watched her load the car through Dave's own security cameras. Phase 1 was complete, but I was just getting started. The next morning, I turned my attention to Rachel's workplace. Pinnacle Insurance had an old-school office culture, shared printers, communal break rooms, and a gossip network that could rival CNN for speed and accuracy. Rachel had been careless with her phone lately, probably because she thought I was too stupid to figure out her password, but I'd been watching her fingers when she typed, and Lily 2011, our daughter's name and birth year, wasn't exactly Fort Knox-level security. I'd been taking screenshots of her text conversations with Dave for weeks, building a comprehensive archive of their affair. The messages ranged from mundane, "can't wait to see you," to explicit, "last night was amazing, I can still taste you," to downright cruel, "Tom is so pathetic, he has no idea." At 9:30 a.m. on Friday, right when I knew the office would be busiest, I remotely printed the entire conversation thread to every printer in the Pinnacle Insurance building. 43 pages of adultery, betrayal, and mockery, complete with timestamps and phone numbers. I'd done my research on the office layout. The main printer was right next to the break room, where people gathered for morning coffee. The backup printer was in the copy center, where the administrative staff processed daily reports. The executive printer was outside the conference room, where the senior management team held their weekly meeting. Within minutes, Rachel's dirty laundry was literally scattered across her workplace. I could only imagine the scene: coworkers gathering around the printers, reading the explicit details of her affair, passing the pages around like some kind of office scandal newsletter. My phone rang at 10:15 a.m. Rachel, sobbing and barely coherent. "Tom, someone hacked my phone. They printed out fake messages at work. Everyone thinks I'm having an affair." "Are you having an affair?" I asked calmly. "No, of course not. These messages are fake. Someone is trying to ruin my life." "Huh, that's weird. Who would want to do that?" "I don't know. Maybe it's Kim. She's been jealous of my promotion. Or maybe it's someone from Dave's office. You know how competitive real estate can be." "Dave's office? Why would they care about you?" There was a pause. Too long of a pause. We work together sometimes on client referrals. Maybe someone thinks we're getting too much business." "Right. client referrals. Tom, I need you to believe me. These messages aren't real. Someone is using some kind of computer program to make it look like I'm cheating. She wasn't wrong about the computer program part, but the messages were absolutely real. What did your boss say? I asked. He wants to see me this afternoon. This could ruin my career, Tom. 20 years with this company, and now everyone thinks I'm some kind of adulterer? Don't say that word. Why not? If the messages are fake, then you're not one. Another pause. Mr. Engel wants to discuss my professional conduct. He mentioned something about company policy regarding workplace relationships. What workplace relationships? There aren't any. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But her voice cracked when she said it, and we both knew the truth was finally starting to surface. Rachel, I said gently, maybe it's time we had an honest conversation. About what? About Dave Bronson. About where you really go during those late-night work emergencies. About why you've been so distant lately. I can't do this right now. I have to figure out how to save my job. She hung up, leaving me alone with my laptop and the satisfaction of a plan perfectly executed. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Dave had threatened to fabricate evidence against me, to paint me as an unfit father in order to steal my family. He'd made this personal, and now he was going to learn what happened when you declared war on someone who understood technology better than you understood your own weaknesses. I pulled up his real estate website and started researching his current clients. Public records showed he had 3 major deals pending: a commercial property sale, a luxury home listing, and a new construction project that represented about 6 months' worth of commissions. Time to make some phone calls. By Monday morning, Dave Bronson's world was falling apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. His wife had filed for separation, his boss had suspended him pending investigation, and his smart home had become a technological nightmare that randomly activated at all hours of the night. But I wasn't finished, not by a long shot. I spent Sunday evening researching Dave's client list, cross-referencing public records with social media profiles and online reviews. The beauty of being an IT professional is that people leave digital footprints everywhere, and if you know where to look, you can piece together a complete picture of someone's life. Dave had 3 major deals in progress. The first was a commercial property sale for Henderson Manufacturing, a $2.3 million transaction that would net him a hefty commission. The second was a luxury home listing in Willowbrook Estates, a $850,000 property that had been on the market for 2 months. The third was representing buyers for a new construction project in the Riverside development. I started with Henderson Manufacturing. A little research revealed that the company's CEO, Robert Henderson, was a family man with strong religious convictions. His LinkedIn profile mentioned his involvement with St. Mark's Lutheran Church, and his Facebook page was full of posts about integrity, honesty, and traditional values. I created a throwaway email account and sent Mr. Henderson a carefully crafted message. Dear Mr. Henderson, I feel compelled to inform you about some concerning behavior from your real estate agent, Dave Bronson. As a fellow member of the business community, I believe you should be aware that Mr. Bronson has been engaging in an extramarital affair with a married woman, which has become public knowledge in our neighborhood. While this may not directly affect his professional capabilities, I thought you should know about his character before completing such a significant transaction. I've attached some documentation that recently came to light. Sincerely, a concerned citizen. I attached screenshots of the text messages between Dave and Rachel, along with photos from the barbecue showing them in compromising positions. Henderson called Dave within 2 hours. I know because Dave immediately tried to call me afterward, leaving a voicemail that was equal parts rage and desperation. Tom, you son of a bitch, I know this is you. Henderson just fired me from the biggest deal of my career. This is harassment, and I'm going to sue you for everything you're worth. The second client was easier. The luxury home listing belonged to Margaret Whitmore, a recently divorced woman who was selling her marital home and starting fresh. A quick search of court records showed that her divorce had been finalized 6 months ago, citing adultery as the primary cause. I sent Mrs. Whitmore a similar email, emphasizing Dave's pattern of helping married people deceive their spouses. She pulled her listing that same afternoon and posted a scathing review on Google, Yelp, and the Better Business Bureau website. The third client required a more delicate touch. The buyers were a young couple, Mark and Jennifer Torres, purchasing their first home together. They were planning a wedding for next spring and had been documenting their house hunting journey on Instagram with hashtags like Sarn First Home and Dawir Building Our Future. Instead of contacting them directly, I reached out to their mortgage broker, a woman named Susan Chen, who had built her reputation on helping young families achieve home ownership. I sent her the same documentation I'd shared with Henderson, along with a note suggesting that her clients might want to work with an agent who better reflected their values. Susan called the Torres couple immediately. Within hours, they'd switched to a different agent and were posting on social media about the importance of working with people who share your values and respect the sanctity of marriage. By Tuesday afternoon, Dave had lost all 3 clients and approximately $75,000 in potential commissions. His phone was ringing constantly, other clients asking questions, colleagues wanting gossip, his broker demanding explanations for the negative reviews that were multiplying across every platform. But the real entertainment came that evening. I was having dinner with Lily when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a video file with no message. "What's that, Dad?" Lily asked, noticing my confused expression. "Probably spam," I said, but I opened it anyway. The video was shaky, clearly shot on a phone, but the audio was crystal clear. It showed Dave in what looked like a parking lot, screaming at someone off camera. "This is bullshit. I know you're behind this, you pathetic loser. You think you can destroy my life because your wife finally realized she deserves better." The camera panned slightly, revealing that he was yelling at empty air. There was no one else in the parking lot. "You want to play games? Fine. I'll play games. But I'm better at this than you are, and when I'm done, you'll have nothing left." He kicked a trash can, sending garbage flying everywhere, then stormed toward his BMW. The video ended with him peeling out of the parking lot, tires squealing. A second text came through. "Thought you'd want to see this. Your boy Dave had a meltdown outside the Starbucks on 5th Street. Dude's losing it. Anonymous." I forwarded the video to Vince with a message. "Guess who's having a bad week?" He called me immediately, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Holy shit, Tom, what did you do to this guy?" "Nothing illegal." "That's not what I asked." Let's just say Dave's learning about the consequences of poor decision-making. The man's having a complete breakdown. This is beautiful. It gets better. Wait until you see what happens next. What happened next was Rachel coming home at 6:30 p.m., 2 hours earlier than usual, with red eyes and a termination letter from Pinnacle Insurance. "They fired me," she announced, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. 20 years with that company, and they fired me." "Why?" I asked, though I already knew. "They said I violated the company's code of conduct policy. Apparently, having personal relationships that reflect poorly on the organization is grounds for immediate termination." "What personal relationships?" She glared at me. "Don't pretend you don't know. Someone has been systematically destroying my life, and we both know who." "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Those text messages didn't print themselves, Tom, and Dave's security system didn't malfunction on its own." "You're giving me a lot of credit. I can barely program the coffee maker." "This isn't funny." "You're right, it's not funny, it's justice." The mask finally slipped completely. Rachel's face contorted with rage, and for the first time in our marriage, I saw who she really was underneath all the fake sweetness. "You want justice? Fine. Dave and I are in love. We've been together for 4 months, and it's the happiest I've been in years. You're boring, Tom. You're predictable and boring, and you have no ambition. Dave makes me feel alive." "Dave makes you feel alive?" "Yes. He's successful and charming, and he actually listens when I talk. When's the last time you really listened to me?" "When's the last time you said anything worth listening to?" She slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed through the kitchen like a gunshot. Lily appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock and fear. "Mom? Dad? What's happening?" Rachel immediately tried to switch back to her sweet mother persona, but it was too late. Lily had seen the real her, and there was no taking that back. "Nothing, sweetheart. Mommy and Daddy are just having a disagreement." "About what?" Rachel looked at me, silently begging me not to tell our daughter the truth. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "About grown-up stuff," I said finally. "Why don't you go finish your homework?" Lily looked between us, clearly not buying the explanation, but she nodded and disappeared back upstairs. "Thank you," Rachel whispered. "I didn't do it for you." She sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly looking older and more fragile than I'd seen her in years. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you and Dave get to live with the consequences of your choices. Are you going to divorce me?" "I don't know yet, but I do know that you and your boyfriend just learned an important lesson about cause and effect." My phone buzzed with another text. This time it was from Dave himself. "We need to talk. Tonight. Riverside Park, 9 p.m. Come alone." I showed Rachel the message. "Don't go," she said immediately. "He's been drinking, and he's not thinking clearly." "Afraid he might do something stupid?" I'm afraid you both might. But I was already reaching for my car keys. Dave Bronson wanted to talk? Fine. It was time we had a conversation about respect, consequences, and what happened when you tried to steal another man's life. This was going to be fun. Riverside Park after dark was the kind of place where bad decisions went to die. The streetlights cast long shadows between the trees, and the sound of the river covered up conversations that weren't meant to be overheard. It was the perfect spot for Dave to make whatever desperate play he'd been planning. I arrived at 9 p.m. sharp and found him sitting on a bench near the playground, a bottle of whiskey in a paper bag at his feet. Even in the dim light, I could see that he looked terrible. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive clothes were wrinkled, and his face had the hollow look of a man who hadn't slept in days. "You came?" he said without looking up. "You asked me to." "I wasn't sure you would, after everything that's happened." I sat down on the opposite end of the bench, keeping my distance. Dave in his current state was unpredictable, and I didn't want to give him any excuse to do something we'd both regret. "You look like hell," I observed. "Feel like it too." He took a swig from the bottle. "Lost my job today. Official termination. Patricia said I was damaging the company's reputation, and that my personal conduct made me unsuitable for representing clients." "Sorry to hear that." "No, you're not." "You're right, I'm not." He laughed bitterly. "At least you're honest about it. That's more than I can say for myself." And we sat in silence for a moment, listening to the sound of the water and the distant traffic from the highway. "Why Rachel?" I asked finally. Dave looked at me for the first time since I'd arrived. "What do you mean? You could have had anyone. You're successful, decent-looking, you've got money. Why did you have to go after my wife?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" He took another drink, longer this time. "It started innocent. We were working on the Morrison account, spending a lot of time together. She was frustrated with her job, with her life. She said you didn't appreciate her anymore. So you decided to appreciate her for me. She was lonely, Tom, and beautiful, and she made me feel, I don't know, important, I guess." "You felt important." "Yeah, like I mattered to someone, like I was more than just a commission check or a mortgage payment." "What about your wife? Your kids?" His face crumpled. "Melanie filed for divorce yesterday. She's asking for full custody, the house, half my retirement account. She says I'm an unfit father because of my moral failings." "Are you?" "Probably." He stared at the bottle in his hands. "I used to think I was a good guy, you know? I provided for my family, paid my taxes, helped out at the school fundraisers. When did I become the villain?" "When you decided to sleep with my wife." "Right, when I decided to sleep with your wife." Another silence stretched between us. In the distance, I could hear teenagers laughing and music playing from someone's car stereo. "How did you do it?" Dave asked suddenly. "Do what?" "All of it. The security system, the printed messages, my clients dropping me. I know it was you." "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Come on, Tom. We're past the point of pretending. You systematically destroyed my life in less than a week. I'm actually impressed." I considered denying it again, but what was the point? We both knew the truth. "You threatened my daughter," I said simply. "I never threatened Lily." "You threatened to fabricate evidence against me to win a custody battle. That's the same thing." Dave nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess it is." "You made it personal, Dave. You could have just had your affair and left it at that. But you had to get greedy. You had to try to take everything." "I was scared. When you confronted me at the barbecue, I panicked. I thought if I could make you look bad, it would be easier for Rachel to leave you." "How's that working out for you?" He laughed again, but there was no humor in it. "About as well as you'd expect." My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and saw it was from Rachel. "Where are you? Dave's been calling and texting all day. He's scaring me." I showed Dave the message. "She's scared of you," I said. "She should be. I've got nothing left to lose." That got my attention. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe it's time to stop pretending this is going to end quietly. Dave stood up, swaying slightly from the alcohol. The bottle fell from his hands and shattered on the pavement, sending glass and whiskey everywhere. "You want to know the truth, Tom? Rachel doesn't love you anymore. Maybe she never did. She told me things about your marriage that would make you sick." "Such as?" "Such as how she's been faking it for years. The affection, the interest, even the sex. She said living with you was like being married to a piece of furniture." The words hit harder than I expected, but I kept my expression neutral. "And yet she's been married to this piece of furniture for 15 years. Because she was comfortable, because it was easier than starting over. But now she's ready to start over with me. With you? Dave, you don't have a job. You don't have a house. Your wife is divorcing you and your kids won't speak to you. What exactly do you have to offer, Rachel? I have love. You have desperation. He stepped closer, and I could smell the whiskey on his breath. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you've won because you managed to hack my security system and send some emails? But you don't understand what you're dealing with. Enlighten me. Rachel and I have been planning this for weeks. The affair was just the beginning. We've been documenting your behavior, building a case. The drinking, the anger, the way you've been neglecting Lily. What drinking? What anger? The drinking and anger that's going to be very well documented by the time we're finished. Photos, videos, witness statements. Enough to convince any judge that Lily would be better off with her mother. I stood up slowly, keeping my hands visible and my voice calm. You're talking about fabricating evidence. I'm talking about protecting the people I love. By committing perjury and fraud? By whatever means necessary. That's when I heard the sirens. Dave heard them too, and his face went white. What did you do? I didn't do anything. You did. The police cars rolled in, reds and blues painting the empty lot like a silent disco. Officer Martinez stepped out, same guy who'd been to Dave's place 3 times this month for noise complaints that always turned out to be nothing. Evening, gentlemen, he said, eyes already on the shattered bottle at Dave's feet. Got a call about yelling and breaking glass. Just talking, I said. Dave swayed. He set me up. Martinez raised an eyebrow. You driving anywhere tonight, Mr. Bronson? Yeah. Can't let you do that, sir. You're in no shape. Dave lost it. He's the one who should be locked up. He ruined me. Hacked my house, tanked my business, turned everyone against me. Martinez glanced at me. I gave him the smallest shake of the head. Long story short. Cuffs, Miranda rights, Dave screaming my name like a curse all the way to the cruiser. Martinez told me to keep my distance. Guy's coming apart at the seams. I drove home slow, windows down, city air cool on my face. Rachel was at the kitchen table, tea gone cold. He's in jail, she said. I know. What did you say to him? The truth? She looked at me like I was a stranger wearing her husband's skin. Tom, Dave and I were going to frame you, make it look like you were the drunk, the danger to Lily, all of it. I know that too. Her breath hitched. So what happens now? Now you decide who you are when nobody's watching. She cried then, ugly and honest. I let her. She moved out the next morning. Dave skipped town the day he made bail. Divorce was final before the leaves turned. 6 months later, a postcard slid through the mail slot. Desert sunset on the front, 4 words on the back in shaky ink. You were right. Sorry. I left it on the counter. Lily found it after school, read it, and dropped it in the trash without a word. Some apologies arrive too late to matter. Some truths arrive exactly on time.